The Plant Daddies podcast.
I love Katy Perry so much. I've watched that documentary about 8 times, and every time I cry.
Lauren, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Are you enjoying this like weird whatever the fuck is going on period?
I am. I kind of love living life in a weird what the fuck is going on period. That's kind of what gets me going. So I do like to feel constantly uncertain about the future. It makes me feel really good. Yeah.
Are you in the Isle of Wight at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm on the Isle of Wight, which is fun. I mean, in terms of feeling weird and not knowing what's going on, it's quite a good place to be. It's nice and slow, you know.
Is it as terrifying as London when it comes to leaving the house?
I don't think so. I think the Isle of Wight is a safe place.
All right. Well, I'm coming to visit you then.
Yeah, see you on Christmas.
Sick. How have the last, like, I guess 6 months initially, but just in general, the last 2 years, how has it been for you?
It's been good. I mean, I think you're like an up and coming artist until you're like 45. So I'm enjoying my up and comingness. I think, the last 6 months has been really exciting because I've done loads of festivals, loads of touring, and then kind of just signed so I can make an album or 2 or 3. So I think this is definitely the most exciting point because I'm kind of like on the precipice of doing actually what I've always wanted to do. So it's kind of reassuring that the last few years have led to this moment so that I can actually go and create an album, and that's what I've always wanted to do. So yeah, I think basically it paid off.
Nice. Because we met literally just before lockdown. Couldn't have been closer. And you had some really still cool stuff going on up to that point. And then now here we are. But you've kept going, and it seems to be like you've been on a really consistent release schedule. Was that always the plan, or did you adapt to kind of being at home?
I think it was definitely always a plan. I've always loved having something going on, something in the pipeline. And I think by the time one single was coming out, I was already 3 or 4 ahead of that anyway. So I think I've always worked quite far ahead of myself. So that kind of left me a lot of room to be constantly releasing. And especially when, coronavirus kind of hit last year, it was well, this is the perfect time to keep releasing because that's all anyone can maintain from home. So yeah, I think it was a really important factor to constantly be releasing. And I think when you're new and no one's heard of you, you just have to keep throwing enough shit and hope that something will actually stick. That's always been my method.
I want it on record that you've called it shit and not me.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you didn't say that. I said that.
But the last 6 months especially, there's been loads of highlights, loads of festivals and your headline tour and, the support tour at the Vamps. Are there any standout highlights?
Yeah, I think the headline tour just gone was really good. I've done a lot of headline tours in my time and they've not been like that. They've been kind of scarily quiet and awkward, and you could hear someone ordering a Foster's at the back. So I think it's kind of
I didn't think you'd heard that. Sorry.
Yeah, you say that. Yeah, so it very much feels like a nice point now, whereas headline tours used to fill me with fear. They used to be really anxiety inducing because if no one turns up, that's on you, and that's a horrible thing to sleep with at night. So the last one was really good because people came and it was just fun.
Now that you're a more seasoned touring artist, what are your diva-ish demands? What do you look for on a rider or
on a classic Lauran Hibberd rider would be a bottle of Disaronno. That's kind of my jam.
Rogue.
I know it's a bit rogue. It is a bit rogue. Me and my band enjoy a little dizzy for some reason. It's kind of our thing.
I'm not gonna knock it.
I mean, I just like the bottle. It looks cute. It's nice and square. Fits in a rucksack really nicely.
When you save them up from every venue, they just slot nicely next to each other.
Yeah, I think that's what's good about it. So that's. I don't really have any crazy demands. I just like you know, I like kind of decipher a good venue by its like green room and like toilet situation. Like if the mirror has lights on it, that's a big yes from me. That's like a Hibberd turn on tour. Being able to see yourself whilst getting ready is quite impressive. So yes, things like that really make my experience. If there's a kettle in the room, that's also really nice. Yeah, if the towels don't smell like dusty, that's also a good little.
Now you're aiming too high. You can't expect too much. The towels are always going to smell.
They are always going to smell weird. But yeah, that's like kind of when we get to a venue, if a couple of boxes are ticked like that, I'm like, oh yeah, this can be good.
What's like, so you wake up tomorrow and you're like Beyonce size. What's the first thing that's going on the rider?
Oh my God, imagine. I think I'd have to have like a dog. I'd want like a dog everywhere I went.
Well, you could bring Django at that point.
Yeah, probably my dog actually. That could be, I'll bring Django, and then if there's like cool little things for him at each place, that would be really nice. What else would I have on my rider? What does Beyonce have on her rider?
Oh, it's like, I've read this once. I'm that guy. It's like very specific like room layouts and like certain colors of pipe and drape and like plants, but like specific plants.
I love that. So she's all about getting like the feng shui right.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like feeling like home maybe, or feeling consistent at least.
That's really sweet. I enjoy that from Beyonce. Yeah, maybe I'd have to look into some color palettes and stuff and see what, you know, makes me feel calm and zen pre-show.
I think plants is a good one.
Yeah, plants are always good. Yeah, maybe I'm trying to think of like really out there foods that I could demand, but I don't really like out there foods. I only like really boring food, so maybe that would.
My housemates and I have started collecting magnetic bottle openers from different places. So if like anyone goes on holiday or goes anywhere, they've got to bring us back a magnetic bottle opener, and plans to just like fill the fridge with this like atlas of bottle openers. So that would be mine.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Or maybe I'll live vicariously through you and you can bring them all to me.
Yeah, I could definitely collect some for you.
Thank you.
And you could send me sort of like monthly updates of your fridge, and I could be invested that way.
It's pretty sparse at the moment, but you know, we're getting there.
You got to start small.
So the Vamps tour.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh my God, it was so fun. Probably like the most fun I've ever had in my whole life.
Sorry, you go.
They're just awesome. Like the crowds were great. It was mainly kind of like a younger fan base, like primarily kind of like female. And it was just so fun. Like I've played a lot of shows where I feel kind of like under like a weird amount of pressure to like be cool or like impress those people at the back whose like arms are folded and it's all like very industry, and
or
it kind of just, yeah, exactly. And this tour just kind of felt like the polar opposite of that, and it was just so much fun. Like I kind of felt like no one in the room wanted me to fail. Everyone was just sort of like excited to be there, excited to like discover something new, and kind of was on your side from the start. Whereas sometimes you have to like obviously win people over, which is fair enough. But yeah, it was just a real fun experience. They've got a really cool, friendly fan base, and it was really good fun.
Obviously, there was a small hiccup in the middle of that tour.
Hell
Do you want to
yeah.
talk us through that?
Yeah, so we woke up on the day of the Apollo show in London, and basically our band van had been broken into and all of our equipment and a couple of our personals were stolen. So yeah, we basically had absolutely nothing, which was awful. I mean, you hear about it happening to bands, and I know bands it's happened to, but I guess not to be a cliche, but it's kind of the whole thing. You always think it's not going to happen to you. So yeah, it was really depressing. I feel like you'll know, like as a musician, it's not like some of us have had like those guitars and a couple of those pedals, you know, for years, and you like save up as a kid and you finally get your jam, you get your pedal board how you want it, and like even if you try and buy the same thing again, it's never like quite the same, especially with guitars and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely kind of a personal thing. It felt very personal at the time.
And it's like what you were saying about you never expect it to happen to you. Like, I didn't expect it to happen to people I knew.
Yeah.
And then it happens so much in such a short period of time. And like every time you see that Instagram post, it's like your heart just drops.
I know, it's such an awful feeling. And it was just like, I mean, in some ways we had so much support, like loads of bands were offering to lend us gear, and, you know, companies helping us out, Fender, shout out. But yeah, it was like one of those things that the police were kind of really weird about it and didn't really like kind of jump to our rescue. So I think, yeah, we very much relied on like the good nature of like good people around us. And yeah, the Vamps basically lent us their whole back line. So did JC Stewart, so we could play that night. So yeah, it was actually, I'm glad we played. I think if we'd have gone home, it would have been a really like bitter note, and we would have been like, oh, they've kind of beaten us. But because we did play, even though like I literally had a tuner and like a guitar I'd never played before, it was kind of like, it felt good to like not quit.
I was just about to say, like, the fact that you played those last few shows, like literally kept the show on the road, like that's insane. I don't think I know many other artists who'd be able to do that.
Yeah, it was because we were like, right, let's just play London and then we'll go home, because there was still 2 more. And after we played the Apollo, we just got like such a buzz, and we were like, do you know what? No, we should definitely try and just finish this whole tour. Because I've always had a bit of a tour curse. Like all of my support tours so far, I've got like 3/4 of the way through and then something's happened, like the headline band's been ill or whatever, and I've had to like pull off. So it's like, I really wanted to finish a tour. So I was like, no, now it's on me. I have to make it work. So yeah, it felt really good once we'd finished it.
Well, I guess just kind of going back to like the writing and stuff we were talking about earlier and the release schedule, like I guess you're not shy about your influences, like talking about your influences. How do you approach kind of taking inspiration from different artists but still making it your own, and like making it feel like you and sound like you?
Yeah, I think I listen to such like a wide range of stuff, and I go through phases. I'm still very much a teenager in that respect without being a teenager, but like one week I'll be like obsessed with Green Day, and then the next week I'll hate myself for it. So you know what I mean? I go through like these really weird turns, and I think because I'm like constantly still like evolving, like a song I wrote last week I'll rewrite this week and it will have like a totally different outlook on. And I think that's the kind of thing that keeps it being like a Weezer tribute act, or do you know what I mean, like a Phoebe Bridgers spin-off. I think there's just so many different influences, and I have kind of an odd personality in the sense of how I view things and how often I change how I feel about a subject. And I think that's very sort of prominent in my songs to date, is that my sort of wavering of feelings and like kind of sketchy personality sort of pours over the whole thing and messes it up in a good way.
So what's the ultimate guilty pleasure? What's the one you don't want to admit?
I mean, it's not that bad. It's actually not bad at all. I love Katy Perry so much. Katy Perry is to me unbelievable. I've watched that documentary about 8 times, and every time I cry when Russell Brand leaves her, I'm literally like in bits. That's how much it gets me. I love pop music. I love a pop chorus. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely wish I'd written I Kissed a Girl and like Hot and Cold, like her real first album stuff.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about the driver's license track when it came out, and we were like, yeah, not really fussed about it. And then like 2 days later, we were like, oh my God, it's the best song in the world.
I've got this weird, this is going to sound so hipstery of me. I've got this weird thing about like viral songs where I don't want to listen to them.
Of course. Something that's a knee-jerk reaction. If everyone loves it, like there's something in me that's like, you're gonna hate it.
And then I listened to it and like that was literally in my top 5 on Spotify Wrapped.
It's so good.
I remember like tweeting at the start of the year, like, we're all laughing now, but wait until this like makes an appearance in our Spotify Wrapped, thinking that was a joke, thinking surely I'd listen to something 5 things more than I listened to Driver's License. It was number 3.
Did you just have it on repeat though for like days?
I must have done. I really don't remember listening to it that much. Like, I'm sure something beat it, but
I remember like just having it, like I'd like go in the shower and like I'd put it on repeat, just like leave my phone on the sink and like leave it playing, and I'd just sit in the shower for ages and just sing it. That's how like invested I was.
I think because it starts and ends with that same piano note, it feels very repeatable. Like, maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's like a subconscious thing. Like, it feels like the beginning.
Yeah. Maybe the song never ends. It just keeps going round on itself. That's how she got us.
She did it. Well done.
She won this year.
She literally did.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about you kind of like getting into things, but like we're getting into music, but like what did the bit before that look like? Like, what was the kind of journey into this period? What did that look like?
So I guess I kind of had a ton of like little jobs and I kind of was just a bit of a floater, like left school, went to like a music college on the Isle of Wight, and then sort of was like looking at universities like, oh yeah, I could go and do music at university. That sounds fun. So I like always knew that like I wanted to be in music, but I think being in like a music education, they kind of like not intentionally, but they do kind of force you down a path that isn't being an artist, because obviously being an artist there's so many risks and there's no guarantees. So they kind of very much, drum that kind of studio engineer and that kind of thing into you. So I feel like after I kind of done like the college sixth form thing, I was like, maybe university isn't for me, because I don't want to do that side of music and I don't want to do anything else. So I kind of just wrote songs like on the side and then worked like a ton of little jobs. Never anything like serious. Like, I think I've written like one CV in my life, but like I worked at a cafe like by the beach for ages. And then I got fired from that job because I kept leaving for gigs like short notice. So that's kind of what has happened throughout my whole life. Like, I've written on the side and then just played as many gigs as I could. So like as soon as I got anything through, I'd just go. And I like, if they were like, no, you can't have time off, I'd be like, well, I'm going. And that's always how I've been. So I've never been that employable, unfortunately, but still maintained like a little job all the time.
So I guess when things started to get busier, what was the point where you like took the leap? Was there a turning point, or what kind of prompted to be like, right, no more coffee shop, it's party time?
Yeah, I think when I met my manager, Matt, and there was like, and then I got an agent and stuff like that, I thought like, as soon as there was like a team of people that were working with me that had like the same vision, I was like, oh cool, it's more than just a pipe dream in my head. Like, I've actually convinced like 3 other people that this is okay, and they like want to put their name on it. So I think that's the kind of point where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna have a job, I'm gonna try and like make it work. And luckily like my mum was like, you can, you don't have to pay rent if you really can't. And I was like, well, I actually can't because I've got no money. And then eventually she was like, okay, you need to pay rent now, you're like 22.
And you're like,
so, yeah.
Matt, get me on tour with the Vamps quick.
Yeah, I'd be like calling Matt up, like, we need to do some little brand deals, like see what we've got, see what we can cook up. So yeah, I think that was kind of the point where I met people in the industry that kind of believed in it and wanted to work on it. I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And
so going back to when we met and you were just about to head off to South by,
yeah,
so a lot of the kind of like tastemakery stuff, like was I'm guessing like Great Escape and stuff like that was planned for that year.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of like 2 years past that and you've kind of really established yourself, do you go back to that, or have you done that?
Yeah, funny, isn't it? Because we sort of like missed this time. Like, I know a bunch of bands that have kind of just like almost skipped that bit. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't been able to do it. I did play Great Escape like the year before, But it was definitely like that kind of year where I probably should have been at all of these little things. And I guess we've all found like new ways, you know, to do these things. And yeah, I think I've had to miss a couple of things that I would have liked to have done. And I guess going back into it, I'm not sure if, you know, that's appropriate anymore, but I'm always up for playing. And I think that's the thing with me. I'm never really fussed where I play. I just want to play. So you could give me like 100 quid to like play on a random farm in Devon and I'd probably do it just because I love it.
Well, speaking of, I don't think there's a festival lineup I've seen in 2022 that doesn't have your name on it. You're everywhere.
I do love a festival. It is a bit of me. They're the best. It is.
I don't really have a question attached to that. It's just like nuts.
It's fun. Yeah, I'm really excited. Again, it's been like a few years where, you know, some of these festivals haven't happened. Like, for example, festivals like Truck and Why Not, they kind of got cancelled before the cut-off kind of last year. So that lineup's been sort of rolling around for a few years. So yeah, it's weird. And like, in a way, people have like developed through the pandemic, but sometimes the poster doesn't change, if you know what I mean, because it's kind of rolling over and rolling over. So I think there's going to have to be a few catch-up years of stuff.
I'm excited to see you at literally every festival.
I'm excited to see you at literally every festival.
I'll be at 3
You'll be there. You'll be there somewhere, ordering a Foster's at the back.
Yeah, really. Actually, I'm going to have to do it like through a megaphone now to make sure you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is going on in 2022? What's the plan?
I'm releasing an album.
Sick. Is that an exclusive? Do we know that?
I know that. No one's told me not to say anything, but I don't know. I started recording it. Well, I recorded the first half of it last month and this month, and then finishing it off in January. So yeah, I guess I'll be in album territory, which is fun because I think that's what, you know, when you're a kid, everyone you listen to albums. I remember going to B and like buying Avril Lavigne and being like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I think EPs are really fun and they're a great way to kind of like do it without 100% doing it. And I think I've needed all of that time, but I'm just really excited to make something like long and obnoxious and just, you know, really spend loads of time thinking about it all.
So is it long and obnoxious, or does like an album and like a longer format give you like license to explore? Like, so one of my favorite songs of yours is You Never Look So Cool. Does it give you a chance to explore more of that kind of softer side? Or are you going balls out?
I mean, I am going balls out, but there is definitely like a couple of tracks on there that I think you'll be like, oh, okay. And I think that's the beauty of an album is you have the time to play with stuff. And an EP's kind of like, cool, here's what I am in a little taster. But yeah, an album is kind of what you want it to be, really. And I think I've just been having so much fun making it. Which I'm happy about because I was really nervous about actually recording it because I had all these expectations of what it was going to be like, because I guess I thought about it for like years. So it's really fun to be in the process working with like, you know, cool people. And yeah, I'm just trying to have fun with it really, because you never know what's going to happen or if I'm going to do it again. So I'm trying to make the most of it.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a current favorite song? Not necessarily like a single, but just like your favorite. Yeah,
I do actually. I think I have two favorites, but yeah, I'm very excited.
Amazing. You can tell me about them at the time.
Yeah, I will.
Buzz in. Thank you so much for joining me, Lauran.
Cheers, Mikey. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to the album and the festivals and the Fosters.
Of course.
And all the good stuff.
Yeah, I will see you there.
See you there.
Thanks for listening to the Plant Daddies podcast.